past weekend, Eternals debuted in theaters, and some people are loving it, others are hating it, but everyone has a passionate opinion about it. So today we're going to stop and rank all 10 Eternals from the worst to the best. Hi, my name is Sean, and I love to talk about movies way too much. With that in mind, go ahead and join me down below in the comment section. Share your ranking of the 10 Eternals. My list isn't the right list, it's just my list, and I would love to see yours. And as we go into this is a spoiler-packed video. If you haven't seen the movie, you have been warned. This will spoil all of their character arcs for you. With that said, let's get started. In last place, Sprite, the Eternal that's a perpetual child with the emotional maturity of a child, even though she has been on the Earth for 7,000 years. The first thing we learned about her is basically that she spilled the beans about the Eternals to Dane in kind of a confusing manner with the information that's given. From there, she's just kind of complaining throughout the film about the way that she has been designed, and potentially there is an interesting idea of there, what if someone was trapped in a child's body but has the desires and urges of an adult? But the question raised by her of like, why did they make me like this, is too good of a question. Why did they make you as a child, which would expose such gigantic create such gigantic insecurities inside of you that would become an incredible liability for your mission on this planet? Why would the Celestials do that? And the movie doesn't answer it in any sort of meaningful way. Then as we move into the third act of the film, her motivation for deciding that the billions and billions of people on Earth should die is because she has a crush on Ikaris and she's mad about her existence. So much so that in the final battle, she literally stabs one of her family members in the back. And then after she loses, Sersi rewards her bad behavior and bad choice by giving her everything she wanted. I just thought it was frustrating. I don't think the reward was earned. I didn't really, her reaction to her frustration is just so exaggerated that she wants to kill billions of people or be responsible for billions of people dying that I just can't resonate with it. It just feels like an incredibly jealous person, feels like an incredibly narcissistic person, but they want me to sympathize with her, and it just did not work for me at all. Number 9, Ajak. This is a frustrating one because I think Ajak should have been the lead of the film, should have had this very compelling, interesting arc about this character who for millions and billions of years past has gone to planets and been responsible for committing genocide for the purpose of bringing Celestials into this world. But something about being on Earth brings out the humanity in this Eternal, and something about the experience of life on this Earth and the way are good, are bad.
But the people of this planet brought everyone back with a snap of a finger.
Transforms this person, therefore she breaks against the purpose that she's known for millions or billions of years. It is transformed. That's a compelling character arc. And it's sort of in this movie, but not really at all. Because they kill the character off in the present timeline before we meet her. She's already dead. And so we only experience her really through flashbacks. And most of them are exposition drops, or after something important happens, she just kind of tries to pull the team together, but we don't see what she means to people. We don't actually experience her living with humans and being transformed, which is the most compelling idea in the film. That's so pivotal to what transpires in the film. But instead of showing that transformation in her, they make it like kind of this back burner plot line. Salma Hayek's in the movie for like 5 minutes. And because of the way it plays out, where 1 week before all the billions of people on Earth are about to die, she's like, oh man, yeah, we shouldn't do that. Let's get the gang back together to stop that. It doesn't make her very sympathetic. It doesn't make her very interesting, even though she really, really should be. She should be the star of the movie. and that should have been the arc of the film. Next up, Sersi. This is a weird one because she's the lead character of the film that's responsible for pulling the team back together. She's the chosen leader of the group after Ajak dies. She's the one that ends up being in communication with the Celestials. But she's the least interesting character in this entire movie. She just doesn't have much of a big, interesting personality. She's not super charismatic. She doesn't have a particularly compelling arc because she's a pretty good person at the beginning of the movie. She learns information and does what a pretty good person would do with that information. Goes, we shouldn't let everybody die. And so tries to stop it. And then at the end, she's like, did we do the right thing? I don't really know. And so I just don't think this was the right character to have front and center because there's just not much there that's compelling. Whereas almost all of the other Eternals have something about them that pops a little bit more, that's a little bit flashier, that their personality is just something that you want to see more of that person. And Sersi just isn't that. All of her scenes that really pop are the ones with Dane.
Why didn't you guys help fight Thanos? Or any war, all the other terrible things throughout history?
And that's because Dane was so kind of fun and affable, and she's just not. And so I think this was just another character that they wrote the character wrong if she's gonna be the lead one. Number 7, Druig. And here's where we start getting to ones where I'm kind of torn on where I stand with the characters. Because on the one hand, he does have this really interesting worldview that's kind of explored throughout the different flashbacks and present timeline, where you have a character that has a power set that conflicts with their main instruction. And so he has the ability to stop so many horrible things from happening, but he's been instructed not to use that power set, and it takes a toll on him. There's something inherently compelling about that. Likewise, his little interactions with Mikkari, where they kind of make googly eyes and kind of clearly have something between the two of them, really fun moments, and you want to see more of that. And I think that's kind of the problem that I ran into with this one of there was the potential there is some great character building arc stuff going on there. There are some likable moments, but because we have to tell so many characters' arcs and stories, he mostly just comes off as petulant and aggressive and angsty. And so he's an unbalanced character that I didn't particularly like. I didn't enjoy him. And then when we're reintroduced to him, he's mind controlling a village. And it's like, that's not really the right answer either. And this is one of the things that I would say Eternals would have been much better as a Disney Plus show where there's more time, where each character could kind of get an episode where we see the best of them and where their mission took a toll on them. And I think in particular with him, we needed more time for me to see the likable version. I think it needed more time to cook for me to fully like the character, but there's some really great ideas in there. Coming in at number 6, Ikaris. This is a tricky one because he's a character that you're supposed to be mad at as you move into the third act of the film. He's designed to be kind of the classic Superman-esque type superhero, the natural born leader, the person that Ajak had been grooming to be her successor, the person she had trusted with certain information, the person she thought was going to help her bring the team together to stop what was happening. But he has a different worldview. He didn't grow and change the way that she did. He stuck to his mission that he was given and is somewhat resentful of the burden that was placed on him. And therefore, because his worldview is so much in conflict with everyone else's, but he is a true believer. He believes in the mission that all of them were actually sent on and this greater celestial purpose. And so he's acting in accordance with his worldview.
What's this even made of? Vibranium?
Some of the reasons he kind of holds back a little bit for me is that he's so dedicated to his mission until he's not. Like he's battling all of his friends. I will kill every single one of you. He's using his laser beam eyes and everything like that. You get to that moment where he has to choose if he's going to laser beam eye his wife. They don't bridge between all the moments right before this where he's trying to kill his friends to, but I can't kill her. It doesn't bridge it enough, and it just goes straight to, I can't live with this, and goes and kills himself. I think that needed to be bridged a little bit more. Also, over the last few years, it's become a trope to have the Superman-esque character.
I saw him on TV with the cape shooting laser beams.
I don't wear a cape.
Turn out to be the villain of your story. The Boys, Invincible, now even in the MCU, Eternals, kind of a trope these days. So I think there's a few things that hold him back, but I do appreciate that he is this true believer and has such a conflicting perspective on things from so many of the other Eternals. Bringing us into the top 5, Kingo, another character that's so frustrating for me because he's the most fun of all of them. Naturally, they brought in Kumail Nanjiani, who is a very funny guy. He actually, of course, is his background is in comedy, though, so naturally he can bring a more organic, natural sense of humor to the film. The way he's written as this person that kind of decides that he wants to like be a Bollywood star and concocts this whole narrative and has this valet that he's friends with and he actually kind of loves being on Earth and amongst humans. There's all these things about him that are so much fun, a nice addition. I didn't buy into what they did with him going into the third act, though. That's kind of the big problem here, is that he's all on board with the mission until he gets to, like, at a certain point, like, all right, we're going to stop the Celestial. He's like, whoa, we can't do that. Hey, I love Earth. I love everybody here. I love my valet. But it's not our responsibility to do that, so I'm going to sit this one out.
The only thing standing in the way of the end of the world is me and my sidekicks.
Are you serious?
And it just feels like, and he literally does. He just disappears with the third act of the film as if Kumail Nanjiani just wasn't available the weekend that they shot the third act. So he's just not there. And it didn't feel earned. Like, I get it. We're trying to show the different worldviews, the different perspectives. So he's the person that agrees with Ikaris, but he also loves mankind. He's not gonna be that, this was Switzerland. He's the one right in the middle. He's gonna sit this one out. That's it's an interesting concept. The execution I didn't think was developed, and then you just have a character not in the third act, and hey, valet, let's go off. Hey, I'm not going to save you. I'm not going to save any of your family. Let's go and wait till the end of the world. It just rang hollow for me. It played very weird that his buddy was just cool with him doing that. The character was so much fun until he wasn't. In fourth place, Phastos, the character that I think had a complete character arc, but he had a microwaved character arc where they had to take an hour's worth of development and a character processing through the implications of his effect on human history and whether he believes in the mission, doesn't believe in it, loves humanity, doesn't love it. And they have to like microwave that into about 5 minutes. So you have a section of this film where like he's given up on mankind and he sits there like, I did this, I'm responsible. And then immediately goes, our mission is a mistake. They're not worth saving. Next scene, he's married to a human, has a child and has a family. They show up and say, the entire Earth is at stake. They're all gonna die. And he's like, I'm gonna sit this one out. Until his husband's like, no man, you should go. That is a compelling journey for a character to be on, to have so many ups and downs of reflection on the implications of their actions, but it's so microwaved that it doesn't have as much of an effect as it should for a character that does have so much to it, so many implications for what he's been doing and the way that he goes from making choices that have big effects on human history and lead to terrible suffering to doing something so simple and human as getting married and having a child. There's so much in there, but they had to rush through it.
You know what's never saved the planet? Your sarcasm.
I was just imagine if you had an episode that told all that story, not in 5 minutes, not in 10 minutes, but for 45 minutes, really getting to spend time with them, letting us to see the moments where he meets his husband and he regains his hope in humanity. Don't have that as a line of dialogue. You have that as an actual sequence where you see him regain his faith in mankind and be like, this is worth saving. But that takes slow cooking, takes time. And that's where I think that, once again, there's so much here that's so good that's missed with trying to cram it all into one movie. Real quick But before I give you my top 3, remember to join me down below in the comments section. Share your ranking of the Eternals. My list isn't the right list. It's just my list, and I would love to see yours. Also, I've done a ton of other coverage of the Eternals, ton of coverage of the MCU, and a bunch of these character rankings before. You can check out all those playlists somewhere up here and find another video that I'm sure you'll enjoy. Assuming you like this video. If you didn't like this video, you probably won't like those ones either. In third place, Mikkari. Now, this is an interesting one because of our characters, she's the last introduced in the current timeline. She doesn't represent a specific worldview or idea, and she's not given a gigantic character arc. But also, I think that's kind of why the character worked for me in the film, because she's just allowed to be fun and likable. And even the way that she's used, the smiles that she makes, her little relationship with Druig, she's just charming. She's fun when she is on screen, and she's not burdened by an arc that's incomplete. She's not burdened by being attached to some ideas that are explored and touched on just a little bit, but there's not kind of a resolution to it. So I could just enjoy what was on screen, and what you get is a charming, likable character whose speed abilities look awesome and are used very cool on screen. So the way she was used fit the film that she was in and made me wanting more. I'd love to see more of that little dynamic with Druig and the two of them and their little romance. And this is an example of how to do a speedster properly. Our runner-up, Thena, the classic warrior character played by Hollywood legend Angelina Jolie, except something is kind of wrong with the wiring of her brain, and so she's become a liability to her team. Of course, Angelina Jolie is charismatic, fun to see on screen, and then just these types of warrior characters naturally are fun to see in action as they're doing battle. Likewise, she has this great friendship with Gilgamesh that just shows how much these characters truly care about each other. And then kind of to that point, as you move into the third act, she's the character that has this personal, somewhat alternative motive from the other characters, in that she's out for revenge against the deviant that killed her friend. Other thing that's interesting about her character that's a little bit kind of subtly done in the story is that by giving her this condition that Ajak is like, hey, I can fix you, I'll just clear your memory. And as we're watching the story at that particular moment in time, we think, oh yeah, she wouldn't want her memory cleared, so of course she's going to say no to that particular thing. But that sets up kind of the conflict of the entire second half of the film, of all of the Eternals are about to have their memory wiped in, 500 years, so it's not just about to happen. But in Ajak's mind, all of them are going to have their minds wiped, so wiping hers a little bit early doesn't matter all that much. But it sets up that these characters don't want to lose who they are and their memories. Their bonds to one another shape who they are, and that's really important for the group as a whole, for those that decide they want to save mankind. And Thena is the early character that sets that up and personifies that, so that's a value set for the film, driving their motivation later on. And so, of course, this is fun to see Angelina Jolie in an MCU film doing warrior-type behaviors, and then she's just, of course, likable, and I love that relationship with Gilgamesh. But coming in first place for me is going to be Gilgamesh. From my perspective, he's the most well-rounded of the characters, where you get an idea for what his power set is, and it's very cool. He's a stable character that cares about this family and individuals in particular, and he's willing to sacrifice himself to protect his friend. Like, he will just go off, live in isolation for the purpose of allowing her to keep her memories. And that's what makes for a compelling hero, that they have a clear value set. They're self-sacrificial, and that's what he does. He's also designed as a character that grounds the others. I mean, it's very obvious with Thena, he's the person that's designed to bring her back into her present mind. But inside the group, that's kind of the dynamic that he has, of this stable character that has a clear perspective, clear value set. And for me, That's why I liked him. When he dies in the middle of the film, why him? Why of all the characters? Why do we take Sprite out of it? Why the guy that I want to see more of in this dynamic with him and Thena? And perhaps that's also why that, to me, was the most emotional moment in the entire film. And it happens, unfortunately, halfway through the film, but because we know he truly cares about the others, he's so willing to put himself in harm's way for others, self-sacrificial, and he doesn't second guess that decision at all. And that's what I wish a lot of the other characters were able to have more of, kind of that fulfillment of their arc with a more clear value set with strong payoff. I got it with Gilgamesh, loved that dynamic with Thena, and just a fun character to see on scene. They even got a couple laughs in there along the way. So for me, he comes in at number 1. If you enjoyed this video, I've got a ton more like it, whether you're talking about character rankings, Eternals content, though I've been pretty negative about this movie, and then other MCU content. You can check out that stuff somewhere around here. Thank you so much for watching, and keep talking movies too much.